This is the Let's Go Win podcast with your host, J.M. Ryerson.
Hey, what's happening, you guys? Welcome back to Let's Go Win podcast. I have a fun episode today. I don't know a lot about what he's talking about, but we are going to learn quite a bit. Louis Lacarbonara, owner of Direct Kicks and Pokey Steals. Direct Kicks is a premier sneaker boutique in Mamaroneck, New York, and another location coming to Westchester Mall in White Plains. Direct Kicks specializes in the buying, selling, and trading of Air Jordans, Yeezys, and other specialty footwear. Pokey Steals is an online membership program that makes it easier for the average Pokemon enthusiast to purchase Pokemon product. With hundreds of members and only starting in February, Pokey Steals has quickly grown to be the premier place to purchase Pokemon. Louis, what's up, man? How you doing?
What's going on? Thank you for having me, first of all. I'm excited. I look forward to this, I guess, all week pretty much. And I'm excited to kind of teach you a little bit more about not just, just the streetwear culture between shoes and everything, but how everything kind of transpired with Pokemon and, the hot market it's in right now. I think you're gonna learn a lot, and your mind's gonna get blown a little bit. Just everything,
Based on the little, so he was talking to my son outside for a little bit, and there is a lot of money in what he's talking about. So let's just go ahead and put that out there. But let's get into the kicks, because you started there, right? You got right into.
Yeah. So I started. Last weekend was 10 years of me first going to college at Oklahoma State University, and so when I look back at it within the last 10 years, it's a crazy story. It's kind of just looking back at my life, it's like, how the hell did I get into this? I went to Oklahoma State University for entrepreneurship. I was in the pizza business all my life. I really went out there. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to open a pizzeria in Stillwater, Oklahoma. I was going to marry a farmer girl and live happily ever after. That was my story. That was going to be my life plan. And then, I don't know, I remember going into my junior year, I needed, some money, and I was on YouTube scrolling. I saw like a 10-year-old selling shoes, and he was buying these so-called like beater boxes from the store in California. And I was like, okay, I can sell pizza. I says, shoes can't be that hard. And I had no knowledge of Jordans or Yeezys or anything at that time. I wore Pumas in high school with a tracksuit. I was a typical like Italian kid. I didn't really care about Jordans. So, a lot of my friends did, but it just wasn't for me. But I figured if I could sell a slice of pizza all my life, it can't be too hard to push, Jordan. So going into my junior year, I kind of just put $1,000 up front, kind of took a risk and made sure I bought my size just in case if this failed, I would have, fire collection, and just casually sold stuff and just kept growing, where I was making a couple $100 a week to be able to go, out with the boys to the bars and stuff, go to football games, just get plastered and everything. But I started making enough money. Was like, okay, this is something I could, do throughout college and, just to kind of live and actually have food and, be able to eat, go out and do, live life like a college kid. So it was good in the beginning. And then I finally realized, okay, this is something bigger. I could be something bigger. And the school was very, hands-on with me, and they wanted me to, they helped me look at this as actual business versus just an idea or just a little side hustle.
Well, so clearly New York either drew you back in or Stillwater wasn't a big enough market. And there's got to be an interesting story for a kid to go from New York to say, Oklahoma, man, that's my spot.
So I was a diehard Syracuse fan, right? Syracuse was my dream school growing up. I love the color orange. So just as you can see, orange has basically been in my blood. My high school was orange. Syracuse was orange. Oklahoma State happened to be orange. And then Mamaroneck, now where I'm at, is also orange. So just kind of, all comes together a little bit. But, going to Oklahoma was one of those things where I wanted to be something different. I wanted to go to a place where no one, in White Plains, New York is going to. I didn't want to go to the SUNY schools. I didn't want to be the normal kid in college. I wanted to do something different. And it helped out a little bit too. We have a family friend, Scott Brooks, who at the time was coaching the Oklahoma City Thunder. And he kind of suggested Oklahoma State because they had a good entrepreneurship program. And we're like, oh yeah, we'll just add it to the list. Added number 10 for my top 10 colleges. And Oklahoma State was actually the first school to accept me. And it always, has a good place in my heart when, I got into college first through them. And then when we visited Stillwater, I fell in love. I said, this is it. This is where I'm going to go. We had Scotty out there who was able to be that family member. God forbid anything happened. And I don't regret my decision. I love it. I miss it every single day. Like you're saying, the fact that I came back to New York, it was a hard decision. It was one of those where I had it made out there. My senior year, the school gave me my own office. I was in an incubator where I was the only undergrad actually making money. I was speaking to boosters, alumni. I was showing off what the school had to offer. And a lot of undergrads and all that looked at me as the model entrepreneur. And it really came down to me just wanting to open a sneaker store in New York. I wanted to take that next level. And at the time, Oklahoma, the sneaker scene and everything wasn't where it is today. I think I was before the time. They had sneaker shows. They started popping up a little bit, but it really wasn't mainstream where I could stay out there and really be comfortable. You know what I mean? I missed family. I missed home cooked meals and everything. I missed being Italian, because in Oklahoma, listen, I only met two or three Italians, and every New Yorker I met was basically from Buffalo, and we all know that's Canada at that point. So it was a little hard, but I did make the hard decision to come back home. And then in 2016, I graduated 2015 in May, and then 2016 October we opened in Mamaroneck. So it was, I guess, for the best. But I always think about it. Had I stayed in Oklahoma and opened in Oklahoma City, who knows? I might be retired by now. I always tell people, but you never know. I get pitched a lot of times, come to Oklahoma, come here, do this. And I tell a lot of people that, I've known through the sneaker scene out there who have stores all over Oklahoma. I says, if anytime you want to go in Oklahoma City, I got the money to put up. I'm just looking for the right team. So who knows? Life is still short.
Hey, brother,
short,
you are young.
Yeah,
man. You could be there tomorrow. You know, you just never know. But talk to me about this. So I'm like you. I grew up in Montana. Sneakers wasn't for me anyway. A, I didn't have the money, but B, I guess I didn't have the style. Probably still don't. What is it about trading and, Jordans I get, because, I mean, that it's become such an iconic brand. And then obviously Yeezys, I mean, you're going to probably blow me away with the cost of some of these shoes, is my guess.
Yeah.
But they're sneakers. So just talk to me about this. It's a culture, I'm guessing, of people that.
Yeah. So the whole sneaker and streetwear culture, it's huge. The resale industry itself is $1 billion industry, and it keeps growing every single day. And now versus years ago when I first started, what, almost 9 years ago. And at that time, it was just strictly Jordans. But it was also a time where it was frowned upon if you were a reseller. You know what I mean? So if you were selling shoes, if you were buying them from stores and reselling them after for a higher cost, you were frowned upon a little bit. But now reselling in general is just, everyone's doing it. There's so much money in it. I see 10-year-olds making more money than some 30-year-olds doing the same exact thing, between, people doing sneaker botting and there's no more lines and stuff, but just backdooring pairs from, Foot Lockers and whatnot. It is crazy. But for me, I've always focused on the pre-owned market. When I first got into it, I saw the opportunity. They had all the big stores, all the consignment shops around the country. You had the flight clubs. You had not stadium goods yet. You had, Riff LA. You only had a few big time stores, and you didn't have as many mom and pop stores like maybe I am today. So everyone did brand new because you can consign at these stores and you can go to sneaker shows. But then I saw the opportunity and said, okay, the average kid wants to buy a shoe, or the mom and dad want to buy it for the kid. They don't want to pay $300, $400, $500 for a brand new pair. Let me focus on the pre-owned market. And, just to go into that as well, I focus more on the really used market. I wanted to get beaters. I wanted to get shoes where I had to put, my heart and soul into it, because I can get them for $30, $40, spend an hour cleaning them up, and then sell them for $150, $200. So I went for the really used shoes because no one was doing it at the time. And I don't want to say I'm the first person to do that, but I was one of the first people that would actively buy through Instagram beaters and more used shoes. It was easy to find lightly worn, brand new. Everyone's selling that. When it comes to beaters, when someone's able to get $30, $40 for a shoe they already dogged down, they're going to take it. And so by going to these early sneaker shows too, whether it's in Oklahoma or Dallas, Texas, or even the ones in New York that I went to, it was so easy to find these shoes because no one was really buying that stuff. And so I built direct kicks solely off of that. So people would, I always gave my number out early in the days of buying stuff. I would say, text me at, this is my number. Let me know what you have, a size, condition, price, and we work something out. Versus a lot of these other Instagram people or stores, you have to email them. And people don't like to email. And so me being, personal with them and actually trying to get to know them, I built a lot of good clients that every week they would, send me a list. This is the 6 pairs this week. And, back then as well, I didn't just put stuff online right away. I would build it up as hype. So every 2 weeks I would do a drop, or every week I would do a big drop. This is the steals that are dropping. And I would just get hundreds and hundreds of people at 7 p.m. on a Thursday or 7 p.m. on a Sunday, just flooding the website. And it was like first come, first serve. And the best thing was when people didn't get the shoe they wanted, they always came back and got something the following week. And so I built a hype that way, and I built a direct kicks through that where people knew what I had, they knew the product I had, they knew I had the best prices too. But if you look at it compared to now, the market's changed. It's impossible to get some of the steals I was able to get back then because you have other platforms to be able to sell stuff. You have StockX, Go. It's so easy for the average person to get into it now, and it's made it harder for us too. We've taken our hits. There's been times where we're like, me and my team, we think about it. Wow, we're struggling this week. We just haven't been able to sell as much. We have to reinvent the wheel a little bit. Okay, we are so used to pricing things one way, we have to price it a different way. And so the market in general is just it's always changing. And as much as I miss the old times because I was making a lot more money, it was easier to sell stuff. There's a lot more money into it now, and I know if things are done the right way, I can make even more money. So.
I have so many questions, but let's start with just, okay, I'm sitting looking in my closet right now. I'm not saying I have what you need, unless you need size 15 or 16s. I'm
a 13, so I'm with you.
All right,
I got a big foot too.
Yeah. So, but you're cleaning these things up. Are we talking like resole, clean them up? I mean,
so there's a lot to it, right? So a lot of the older shoes, right? You don't see cleaning up shoes and restoring shoes now doesn't make sense because Nike and Jordan are always re-retroing stuff now, right? There's always the fear that, okay, next year is going to something else. So I just found out a Jordan 5 Oreo, which I think came out in 2015. They're re-retroing it in 2 weeks. Wow. That's a 6-year gap. And that's not a shoe they should re-retro. They did a Lightning 4 a couple weeks ago that first came out in 2006. And that's a classic shoe, that brand new, that shoe you can't find. Now everyone's got Lightning 4s. So it's not the clean stuff up now is not really worth it. But when I first started, I was repainting shoes, the midsole of Jordan 3s. I would go to class and I would take like a shoe that had yellow soles, like piss yellow soles. I would have like special sauce to put on it. It was like this whatever website I got it from. They would make this sauce, and the sun it was like chemical reaction, and it would make it clear. Yeah. I would have to get water bottles frozen, put it inside the shoe so it doesn't the glue doesn't come apart. And I would go into class and I would put it in the back of because I had my car out there in Oklahoma. I would put it in the back seat, like the backpack where the rearview mirror is. I would let it sit there, go to class for an hour, and I would come back and people be around my car wondering if I'm cooking meth or something. Because you had a saran wrap over it, you had to see this white substance. It was the police would be looking what's going on. And I would come back and just put them back in my car. It's oh, yellow no more. And so I was doing stuff like that. I was painting, just deep cleansing, getting the brush and just scrubbing everything. I didn't really care too much about the laces because I was just the laces. It's always tough to clean that. It takes a couple of days. I would just get the shoe itself clean, and if I couldn't get it clean, I would just sell it as is. I would still make something because I got it for such a good price. But a lot of these shoes, years ago, I would literally do everything to make it, as new as possible.
Wow. It's fascinating. It's amazing how resourceful you are.
Yeah.
Just because you're kind of creating something, it sounds like
exactly,
that didn't really exist. So what is it? Just complete supply and demand? It's like, hey man, this is a hot shoe right now. We got to find it.
Yeah.
The consumers are telling you that. You're driving the market. How does that look like?
So it's difficult. Years ago, it was, you had the top consignment stores. When something would come out, they would set the market. Now with all these other ways between StockX and Go, the market is already set before stuff releases. And with as many pairs that are getting backdoored, you can see what the price is. That's it's a stock market basically. Right. How shoes are now, you could really follow a shoe being sold from 500 all the way down to 200. A lot of the newer stuff that comes out, really the market where it is now, if it's off-white, like off-white Jordans, off-white whatever with Nike, those sell. That's a hot hitter. Nike Dunks are back in style, so anything Nike Dunk sells. And then Travis Scott. Travis Scott is the biggest thing for Jordan Brand right now and Nike in general. That he is brought in so many different people to this whole streetwear thing where it's impossible. His Travis Scott Jordan 1 lows that came out a couple weeks ago, I mean, they're going for like $1,400. Retail was $160, $175 after tax, wow, if you're paying tax. And then the Jordan 1 highs are going for almost $3,000. So his stuff really puts it, everyone wants that. But what Nike does very, very well is they put a lot of complimentary nice items that if you can't afford the $3,000 pair of shoes, you can get something that looks just like it. So for example, a Jordan 1 Mocha, they released these, last year, And the Jordan 1 Travis Scott that looks like it, just has a different kind of check, that goes for over 2,000 brand new. And the Mochas you could find brand new for 500. And then they come out with a bunch of Jordan 1 mids that kind of look like it for $160. And so it's supply and demand, but everyone wants the hype stuff, but not everyone's willing to pay the price. So for what we have to do now is, as much as I want to have my store filled with all like the biggest hype piece products there are, it just doesn't make sense because the average person and people I know who have money are still not spending that on those kind of items. They'd rather the cheaper alternative because, it looks the same. It's pretty much the same thing. So the market's changing. It's not like years ago where you had to have the hype stuff. You had to have the premier stuff, but there's just too much stuff coming out now. So it's like the cheaper, the better. That's how I still look at it.
So not knowing much about shoes, are you that guy so obviously this is your business.
Yeah.
You sell these badass kicks. But are you that guy that needs to wear that to rep your brand? Or?
So when I first started, I really only wore a couple pairs. I had a pair of Roche Runs, and I just dog those things. Of course, if something nice came out, I was guilty in the beginning of, if I bought a shoe, I was like, oh, I like this, I would wear it. I was to try to sell it. Mm-hmm. I remember I had a pair of Air Griffeys I was wearing in class. It was like entomology class. And I was on my phone, and I think I had it on Instagram. Some dude texted me, was like, bro, you have that shoe? I was like, yeah, I still got them. He goes, yo, can I see some pictures? And they're on my phone. I'm like, so I literally took them off in class, put them on my desk while the teacher's giving the lecture. I'm like trying to wipe it or angle it. I was like, it looks good. I was like, yeah, it worn a couple times. And he's like, I'll take them. He sent me the money while I was in class. I literally had to run back to my dorm. I cleaned them up, packed them up, took them, had another class in like 20 minutes. I dropped them off at the post office between going to class. And I sent them a tracking from class to class. He goes, wow, that's great service. I was like, yeah, man, totally, I had them ready for you. Meanwhile, I'm running around with flip-flops after that. But early on, before I opened the store, it was always just about a couple of pairs. I didn't really care because I was, even after I graduated, when I moved back home, I was working out in my basement. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really have to go anywhere. Like, I didn't try to impress anyone. Now with the store, as if something comes in at a good price, I'm a little guilty on, okay, I need this. This shoe is worth $400. I got it for $100. I'm going to keep it. But now I'm trying to cut down. I don't need all the shoes. I really only wear Jordan 1s and Air Maxes. I have a couple pair of Yeezys, but I've had those for 4 or 5 years where it just doesn't make sense to get rid of them. Yeah. But it's kind of boring now. For me personally, I don't care too much about having that, the most expensive shoe. Now, if you look at, two of the guys that I work with, they have collections that are $500-$600. They have such a crazy amount of shoes, and they're sitting on stuff that only goes up in price too. They don't wear their stuff; they wear it once and that's it. For me, I wear all my stuff religiously. I don't care. I'd rather beat up my shoe just because I'm paying for it. I'm going to wear it.
So the whole idea is this culture. It's a collector's culture, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
As much as I think of a shoe, it's what you're going to wear out. But so often they're just buying this. They're collecting.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of the bad thing with sneakers right now is that, especially with these kids, they see what the adults are doing and they kind of, they mimic it. You have these kids who are now buying shoes and they wear it once and that's it. And then they put it in the closet kind of thing. When I buy a pair of shoes, I want to wear it, especially if I'm going to spend $500-$600. Of course, I don't want to beat it up, but I still want to wear it. I'm going to take care of it. And I see some collectors that they just put in their closet and that's it. And really, what are you collecting for? Are you collecting because you don't want to wear it because you want to hold the value and make money on it? So are you an investor, or are you a collector, or are you going to wear it? And so there's no, they don't know what they are. A lot of these people, I tell people all the time, it says, oh, you're training, you're going to wear it right away? He goes, no, I'm going to hold on to it for 2 years. I'm like, so you're investing in it. If you don't ever plan on wearing it, you're not a collector, you're an investor. Especially if you want to say, no, I'm not going to sell it. And then 2 years later, they bring it to me. Well, I thought you were going to, oh, well, I have a bill to pay. It's always, I hear it all the time. It's always a bill to pay. Everyone's got the same bill to pay at the same time. But it's tough right now because there's so much stuff. And a lot of people go, okay, I'll wear this one when it comes out. And then that one comes around. Oh, no, the next one and the next one. So it's tricky. I don't know anymore who's a collector, who's investing in it. And because there's so much money in it now, the money takes over. And so anytime you get a shoe that, you get for retail for $175 after tax, and you could sell it and make a quick 100, as much as you love that shoe, you're not going to wear it. I mean, even me too. I've gotten a couple pairs off the sneakers app where I'm like, wow, I really like this shoe, but it just doesn't make sense for me. I'd rather wait for a worn pair. So I sell it and put that money and find a worn pair. Then I can wear it.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I have this burning question, which is how much is the most expensive shoe you bought? And I want to know that. But at the same time, what I'm hearing is like the deal where you bought it for $100 and then resold it for, let's say, 700. That markup, not that you're even marking it up, but the market's dictating this to you.
Yeah.
So I guess it's twofold question. What is the most expensive shoe you've ever sold?
Most expensive shoe I ever sold. That's tough. I mean, we've sold shoes maybe like 3,000-4,000.
Wow.
But a shoe that we currently have that I bought maybe the second month. So I bought 5 years ago almost. It was a pair of 1985 brand new Jordan 1 Breads. Size, I think 7 or 7.5. I bought that for like $1,000. And I like older stuff. I like that vintage. I like stuff, especially with Jordan 1s. I love Jordan 1s. I just love Chicago's Breads. So I go crazy in the beginning. When I first open, I buy a lot of stuff just for display. I want the store to have that kind of retro look a little. Mm-hmm. So when this shoe came in, one of my buddies was like, I have it, $1,000. I said, okay. It's brand new, had the original tag still on it, original box. Okay, perfect display shoe. Now, when I tell you, I get asked every single day, oh, how much is this? I tell people $20,000. Because during COVID, when The Last Dance came out, every single Jordan went up in price, no matter what it was. Shoes that had no purpose to go up in price went up in price. Now, this shoe, you look on eBay, I don't know what the comps are or anything, but you can't even find brand new pairs. And if you are, you're finding them for $25,000, $30,000. Wow. So that is the most expensive shoe that I own. If I sold it for $10,000, I'd probably want to put a bullet in my head kind of thing, because that's too low. It's one of those products where like you're not going to find a brand new pair with a tag on it. I've had people say, "Oh yeah, I'll give you $15,000." I tell them, bring out the money and then we'll talk. But no one really wants to buy it. It's one of those shoes like I look at, if I ever do decide to get rid of the business, that's the last shoe I sell. And that's really just kind of like the tip of being in the business for so long, because who knows what I'm going to sell it for. But there's been a bunch of other shoes in between we've sold for $15,000, $2,000, $2,500. But if I get into this, I'm not, a lot of these times with these expensive shoes, I'm not selling them. We're taking in trades. Yeah. And I think that's one of the biggest things that, we kind of exploit a little bit, is we're willing to take anything for trades. So a lot of the other sneaker stores around the country, they focus on, it's very cookie cutter. It's very just brand new. It's the same stuff. And I see so many stores opening up now. It's the same kind of mommy and daddy's money kind of put it into it. And it's buy the same products, the same layout, and it's very boring. And that's why sneakers kind of a turnoff for me now, because everyone's doing the same thing. But for us, what we've always focused on is the used market. And so I don't care to take in a beater. I'll take in a beater and give 10, 20 credit on it. No other store in New York State is going to take the stuff that we take. We don't mind taking Sauconys and Asics for the low, because we're going to give credit. They're going to take a shoe. So we're taking in shoes for trade, giving them a shoe that, maybe we shouldn't have done. But what we do really well is we'll sell these like beaters and stuff as beater boxes now. And so we'll put, beater box for $100, $150. Let's say we give 80 credit on that, sell for a quick 100. So you essentially getting the same after fees, but I'm getting quicker sales. Mm. And so we have a lot of customers that every day are asking, do you have any beater boxes for sale? And because they'd rather buy these beater boxes for $100, $150, clean those shoes up and do the same thing that I did early on, and then make a few bucks. So when we put a beater box online, we have an app too that will just kind of be, okay, beater box online, it sells within 10 seconds. Wow. And it's just about volume at this point.
So I'm curious on having the physical store versus, it sounds like online is obviously a huge part of your game as well. What is the purpose of the brick and mortar? Because people need a place to go see the shoe.
Yeah, so it's, they want to see it, right? Also, I wanted to open in Westchester County, right? I wanted to open in Mamaroneck, which is basically 5-10 minutes from White Plains, right? And where Mamaroneck is called the Friendly Village. All the highways from the Bronx, Yonkers, New Rochelle, Harris, everyone's around Mamaroneck. At the time, there was no store like me in Westchester. Mm. There's been sneaker stores in the past, but they've never done it the right way. So I knew when I opened, it was game over. I was very confident in knowing that when I did open, it was going to be a hit, and I knew I was going to get everyone. I still get people who have no idea we're there. So I know there's always more people getting into it. But with the store, it's just easier to get product. Right? If you're online, a lot of these, sellers that just do it through Instagram, or they sell, through their own clients and stuff, they go to sneaker shows just to be able to get product, right? They buy at these shows now and then they sell, through their own sources and whatnot. For us, we don't have to go to sneaker shows no more. We buy strictly through the store because we're an outlet. I like to think of us as a bank. We're willing to give people cash. People need to sell shoes. I mean, everyone's always going through their own different problems, right? I don't like to know too much. I ask no questions. If whatever the reason why you want to sell your stuff, it's not my business. But I'm there to give you the money if you want to sell. And we tell people all the time, I don't need your shoes. And that's one of the big thing is people are never going to be happy with how much you're giving them for the most part, because everyone always thinks their stuff's more because they have that attachment to it. So for us, we tell people all the time, listen, unfortunately, this shoe's not a good seller for us. I can only offer you this. Well, it's going for this online. Go sell it online. Well, I don't want to wait. Bingo, there you go. You don't want to wait. You don't want to do the work. And I tell customers, don't be lazy. I says, you can make more money on your own. Oh, well, what? I says, you want me to take a risk? Well, it's going to go up in price. I says, okay, go invest it yourself. It's not up to me to hold on to a shoe. Well, you're a sneaker store. Okay. Well, you're here to cash. You need the money, right? You have a bill to pay? Yeah. Well, okay. It's either take it or leave it. Go sell yourself. So we're that outlet to get stuff, and it's a lot. We get stuff for a very good price. Any sneaker store is going to get stuff for the price they want to get it. Sure, do you lowball? You have to in this business. And I think, it's such a bad thing when people say, oh, I hate stores that lowball. But with the store, you have a lot more expensive between employees, rent, electricity, Con Ed. It's hot. I think our Con Ed bill for August is probably the highest it's ever been. And just because the AC needs to be on, like you have to, no one wants to go into a hot store. So these people that come in and want to complain about the price that they're getting for the shoe, we help them out, and we're telling them, go sell yourself first, then come back. But also we give more store credit. If I'm going to offer 100 cash, I don't mind giving 150 store credit on a certain shoe. Knowing they're going to take a shoe, okay, I'll give you $50 credit more. It's less of a risk for me. Okay, I'll take that. If you're smart, you take the store credit and take it to a nicer shoe and then try to sell a shoe. You may make more money. I have customers who do that every single day and make a lot more money than they do just sell the single shoe to us.
That's fascinating, brother. I'm looking in my closet. I'm thinking, just going, I would have never thought of ever trying to, get shoes back. So let's get into the Poke steals. I mean, again, Pokemon. I know my son has cards. Yeah. I've purchased them, but this is a big market, is what I'm starting to understand.
So it's huge. So with COVID last year, you probably know sports cards went like crazy. A lot of this collectibles went crazy because during COVID, everyone needed something to do. So you had Gary Vee, who kind of was like the pioneer for getting everyone back into sports cards. And Pokemon just follows the same suit. And so with Pokemon, you had these YouTubers that were just breaking packs and people were watching and people were like, wow, I have my cards, and bringing their cards out of their closet. And then, okay, I'm actually sitting on something. But if you look at it, Pokemon is the biggest multimedia franchise in the world. If within the last 20 years or 25 years, really, it's never lost money.
Wow.
It's just the amount of cards there are, the amount of people in it, and it's never going to go away. And so last year, a little over a year ago, when I was on YouTube during COVID, following these YouTubers open packs, my business sense goes into a little bit. I'm like, wow, this guy is buying this vintage booster box from 1999, 36 packs. He's paying maybe $7,000. He's selling each pack for $300 each. I don't know the numbers on that, but he's making a couple thousand on that. I'm like, what? And the guy's just literally opening packs. And of course, he has a personality, he has a big following, he's able to get that. So, okay, this is interesting. And so then I started doing a little more research on YouTube, just how I started sneakers, just find the right videos and learn. And I found someone who was like, okay, these are the top 5 items that he thinks are gonna go up in price. And number one was like vintage jungle packs, which is a set from 1999. And he's like, right now you can probably snag it for like $80, $100. I see them with, by September being $150. And then he said the 25th anniversary, which was 2021, and it hit me. I said, this guy's on something. So I just started looking at trends of packs, and okay, it kind of makes sense. If I buy this now, 25th anniversary starts 2021. In February, that's when they would announce the next sets and everything. I says, okay, this could be something smart. So I put maybe like $10,000 into it. I just went crazy on eBay, just buying left and right, buying stuff for $80, lowballing people. People are accepting it. I was just doing it not so much as an investment, but also because it made me feel young again. It was exciting. I've always loved Pokemon, the games. Even in college, I would play them on my phone during class and whatnot. So it was always interested to me, right? Especially the Pokemon Go phase 5 years ago. And then when I started learning more about that and how every 5 years there tends to be something else. And then I looked at it too. It says 2020 last year was supposed to be Olympics in Japan. And that's where Pokemon originated. Now they got pushed that back to 2021, and I looked at that as a fusion with the 25th anniversary Japan Olympics. I said it's a no-brainer. Stuff is going to go through the roof. So I bought stuff and kept down to it as like art. Worst comes to worst, it's artwork. If it doesn't work, if I can't sell it, And then I just casually started getting, following, the leads and everything. And then Logan Paul got into it. And when Logan Paul announced his box break, everyone, the whole market, the whole scene, I was in all the Facebook groups, everyone went crazy. And I says, okay, Logan Paul just put Pokemon on the biggest map it could be. And I bought stuff right before he did that box break, and I sold it for a lot of money a couple of weeks after he did the box break. So I made money off him doing that. And I said, okay, let me try to, utilize now direct kicks with Pokemon. So I promoted through direct kicks. Anyone has any vintage binders, bring them in. I'll give you cash or I'll give you shoes for it. And so doing that, people were like, okay, I'm going to bring my collections in. And I had people DM me. And one of the best deals I got, this kid sent me, I don't even know, 3,000, 4,000 cards. And I basically pieced each card together. And like I was telling your son, I went to a site that had a buy list, and they would put the price they're willing to pay every single card. So I basically paid $1,200 for all these cards. I sent in maybe $150 to get graded through PSA, which I'll hopefully get back within 6 months. I already tripled my money without those cards, with those cards still at PSA. So when these cards come back, it's all free money. I sell it for whatever, All
right. So every parent listening right now, because you just talked about not being a lazy salesperson is kind of what I heard. And then PSA, I'm like, okay, I don't even know what that acronym stands for.
It's the grading company. Yeah.
Okay. That's kind of figured. But so there is a place like because I'm sitting on, I don't know how many stacks my kids have, both baseball, football, Pokemon cards. I don't even say it correctly. It doesn't sound like, but as a parent, I wouldn't even know where to start. So there's a grading website where you send the cards in. They tell you what your stuff's worth.
So they don't tell you what it's worth. So when with any kind of card, right, you could go through PSA. Unfortunately, right now PSA is still backed up, and they don't take any of the lowest subgrade, like the $10, $15 thing. It has to be only expensive cards right now. Like $200 would be the one cost for one card to get graded. Wow. Just so it's a premier card, because they're so backed up. But when I was doing that, I was breaking down each card. It says, okay, this card, this store is going to offer $40, but I think it has a potential to get a high grade. I think it has a potential to get an 8 or a 9, and I could sell that for $100, $150 down the line. And this is before anything with Poke Seals, where I didn't know I was going to do it. It didn't even cross my mind yet. So I was doing this just as an investment to be able to sell during the 25th anniversary, to get and just be able to make a few extra thousand off it. And so it didn't really cross my mind, but I was making money by doing that, and I would just always offer to people, bring your shoes into your cards into direct kicks, I'll give you shoes. I mean, maybe 2 months ago, I had a kid bring in a collection, and he had it in a shoebox. I opened it, and it had a 2003 Skyridge Charizard, which is top 5 most rarest Charizards in the world, sitting on top. I almost fell out of my seat. I says, oh my God. I says, okay, how much you want? I gave him, I think, like $1,300 worth of shoes. I graded this card, and I sold it for $4,000 like 3 weeks later. So I spent the $200 or $300, whatever I paid, to get it graded because it was a premier card. It got an 8. Had it gotten a 9 PSA, it could have been worth $7,000, $8,000. And so I ended up getting a trade on it for more product that I sold through Poke Steals. But it's just like that. One card, all it takes sometimes. Sure, I told this kid, I said, listen, this is a good Charizard. I didn't know it was going to get that high of a grade. I took the risk on it. He had other nice cards too. I was like, okay, I'm going to send a grade. He got shoes that he was happy with. I got the cards that I needed. I made money on the other cards too. So it was a win-win for both of us. And so I just tell people, bring your cards in. I'll take the risk on it. I don't care. I could put up the money. I could put up the time. That's really what it is with Pokemon, especially when you're grading cards.
Well, and again, the way you even said it, how much do you want for it? You're given the option. You could say,
and a lot of times they don't know. They don't know what their stuff's worth because, like you said, the laziness in these sellers nowadays, whether it's Pokemon cards or whatever, people don't want to do the work. And it's not in Pokemon. I love it because there's not many marketplaces. Everyone goes off eBay comps, eBay sold. That is the beauty of Pokemon. It's not like you have to look at a million different places to find a price and average it out. eBay is really the biggest marketplace for Pokemon. And so it's public knowledge. Anyone could look. Anyone could take the name, put the number of the set, and they find out the information. But why aren't people doing that? The laziness, and that's what I think was the difference between a lot of people is they don't want to do the work, and I'd rather them not do the work because I'll do it.
Well, 100%. I think of my parents when I left, and I wasn't a collector, but I don't know. I probably had a couple thousand sets of baseball cards. I wouldn't spend the time. My parents wouldn't know what to do with it, and I just left it in a closet. that's probably a great market for you guys and for them. It's a win-win.
So with sports cards, I don't know the sports card market too well.
But as an example.
As an example, right?
Yeah.
My dad's the same thing. He says we have all these cards. You never know. If you take the time, you could take one card and you're like, wow, needle in a haystack kind of thing. One card could be worth who knows as much. And I tell people all the time, I told my dad, just go through it. You have one card, it pays for a lot. If there's nothing in there, listen, take a shot at tequila or something, call it a day, like whatever. You tried, But I tell people Pokemon all the time, one card, all it takes. This kid had one Charizard. He had another Charizard that happened to be bent over. And if that wasn't bent over, I could have made it a couple of thousand. I was a little upset, but I says, you know what? I can't take it for granted, But just to get it into, the whole, I think when we talk about Pokesteals, basically I was selling stuff up until basically January, February. I was casually making a few $100s, a few $1,000 doing it. It was fun. It was, kind of cool to kind of live like a kid again. And then I just kind of, with Pokesteals, I don't know. I just, one night I was like, I want to brand myself as something. I was doing TikTok videos and I was building up a following, just, casually making, Pokemon videos to there. And I was like, okay, I can call myself Pokelu. And I wanted to be a YouTuber and do what these other guys were doing with box breaks. That was one of my big goals. And it just hit me one night. It was like Pokesteals. And I've done like a subscription service for shoes before. And there's a site that does shoes very well. They're the top dogs. And they make a stupid amount of money doing like that. And they're called Soul Steals. And I said, Soul Steals. I said, Pokesteals. I said, no way that domain's available, that Instagram. I said, there's not a chance. And I went to GoDaddy. It was like 11 o'clock at night. I typed in Pokesteals.com. It says it was like $12 a month, $12 a year. I took my credit card. I bought every domain around that. I went to Instagram. No one owns Pokesteals. For whatever reason, it doesn't exist. But I said, the Pokesteals Instagram, that's it. And I was like, this is my golden ticket. I hit up one of my buddies. I said, listen, I need someone to do this with me. I says, if you can handle this part, I can handle the back end stuff. I says, you're going to make a lot of money. And, we've taken off and it took off too fast. And, especially during the time months ago, it was, Target was selling out quick. Everyone Pokemon, people were coming for each other's throats and whatnot, trying to fight each other over Pokemon. The groups are crazy. The market was so hot. I says, okay, we're going to be the reason why people get stuff. We're going to price stuff under. Of course, our membership is going to help cover those costs. I says, but it's not just about building a business, building a community, because these Pokemon people are loyal. And I love all my members. I have great members. I have members who reach out to me just to have regular conversation. And so if we could build a family, so I built a Discord where I'm now connecting my members together where they can become friends. And that's the biggest thing, is that we built a family. It's also a business. And I'm able to get as much product for these people as I can. And that's what it comes down to, because everyone loves to buy Pokemon and everyone just wants more product, more access to product. And it's just about not even getting the new stuff. I curate so much older stuff that some of these people are like, wow, I didn't even know this came out. How much? I'll take it,
Well, to me, I'm thinking you just have this entrepreneurial mind. Were you always that way as a kid?
Yeah, I think from lemonade stands to hustling to school, selling single pieces of gum for 25 cents. I mean, I've always known this was my path a little bit, right? I never wanted to work for anyone. I've really, I grew up in the pizza business. I've worked with my dad as a waiter, as he was a banquet manager. So I was always kind of around customers. I know how to, maneuver my way in that kind of customer service and whatnot. But I always wanted to be my own boss. I always wanted to have business be my life. And, when I first started Direct Kicks, that was my first thing. And now with Pokesteals, and I've tried other businesses in between. I've failed tons of times. And I don't want people to think that's easy, because it's not easy.
Well, no, that's literally where I want to ask is talk to people about some of the ways they can avoid maybe the pitfalls of failing, or maybe that's just part of being an entrepreneur. Maybe you just have to, sometimes it hits, sometimes it misses. But what are some of the keys to you succeeding? Because you're a young guy. You have one store, working on a second one, and a third business is what I'm hearing. There's some clues to why you've been successful.
So I think the biggest thing is you have to fail. I think you have to kind of go through the pitfall to kind of understand. You have to kind of be told that you're doing something wrong, and to kind of realize, okay, now I got to change my ways. I got to do it this way. I always look at like entrepreneurship. It can't be taught, first of all. Like, everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, and I'm very vocal with Oklahoma State. I'm very passionate about, the kids under me, getting taught and everything. And I've told the school things certain people that I shouldn't have. I was very vocal with them. And I said, you're teaching these kids one way, but you can't teach them. You have to let them do it. You have to let people experience what business is like to be able to see if they're an entrepreneur. We teach all these entrepreneurship classes nowadays, but what are we teaching them? Are we teaching them how are you going to know whether they pass or fail? To give them a test? I was the worst test taker. My senior year, I cut class like every other day. I told my teacher, I transferred into entrepreneurship certain teachers, and told them, I said, listen, I'm not going to be in your class. I said, I'm going to be in my office. Well, I said, nothing. I said, I'm making money already. I'm already doing what you're teaching. I just need the credit to graduate so I get the hell out of here. And they're like, well, I had a teacher come up to me and tell me, listen, you're supposed to get a D, but I gave you a C. I said, I don't care. I passed. He says, yeah. I said, thank you. It's all it comes down to. There's no way of teaching it. And so with entrepreneurship, you have to just get out there. You have to get your hands dirty. If you have an idea, you just have to kind of do it. I was listening to the news, whatever we had at the house the other day. The guy was explaining how to do business. You can't explain. The guy's saying, oh, build a business plan. You don't have to do crazy. Just build a business plan. Oh, you don't know your accounting? Ask an accountant. Oh, do this way, this way. There's no rule book. You just have to go out there. You have to get your hands dirty and take a shot. Because if you take a risk in life, it could pay off. If it doesn't pay off, you can't let that discourage you, because you have to just try again and keep going again. It's 8 years in between two successful businesses. And I don't like to say success because we're always growing. I've had my growing pains. There's been times, even with direct kicks, where I looked at it and says, is this right? Did I make a bad mistake coming home? I had life perfect in Oklahoma. I says, I could have been doing so much better, but I also, it's an opportunity to grow. Okay, I'm just overthinking it now and just take off. Let's just, eye on the prize and keep going forward.
Yeah, I'm curious to get your take because, again, you are a young guy that just went to college. And the movement right now. A lot of entrepreneurs out there saying, don't go to college. But obviously you did both. So you kind of have a thought on...
I get that asked a lot. So if I started selling shoes sophomore year or even freshman year, there's no way I could continue. If I knew I was going to be big on it, but you never know. Looking at it, I probably would have stuck with college because the school was so good for my resources. When I had my office day, one of the most important days of my life was when I got to speak in front of Malone Mitchell, who's one of the biggest boosters. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Boone Pickens. Boone Pickens was the biggest booster to Oklahoma State. Malone Mitchell is right there, number 2. Okay. Big oil guy. And I remember the school coming to me. This is a week before I got my office in the incubator. And this is the guy who put the money up for the incubator. It was homecoming weekend. And the school came and was like, this is the most important speech of your life. Memorize a speech. And you tell me to memorize. I like to speak. I like public speaking. I can't memorize anything. I don't like that. I don't like being told how to say things. And so going into this meeting, I memorized the whole thing. They wanted me to put a suit and stuff. I wear a polo and a pair of khakis. Going into it, there's 25 alumni. I have no idea who this guy is, who he's sitting where. And I forgot everything I said. And I was just like, you know what? Back in my head, I said, I can't memorize this. I can't say what I memorized. I just went in there with the most New York attitude. I said, how you doing? And I just had the whole room in laughter. And everyone was having a good time. I had shoes passed around. And after that, I got the affirmation that, okay, I got the approval of all these country oil guys in cowboy boots and cowboy hats selling Jordans. And this is years ago where I was like, what is this? They thought it was like an alien or something. And then a week later, I got my office. And I like to think that is one of the reasons why. Also, I knew that they had to give it to me. But it's one of those reasons, okay, this is something big. If I got the approval of a different kind of clientele, okay, I'm doing something right. And now I have to keep trucking forward, No,
I love it. I mean, look, it's a brave new world. We're all evolving and changing. I think parents are trying to figure this out. Should they go to school? Should they not? And you did both. Yeah. That's what I think
it's not for everyone. The whole college scene, you could succeed without college now. I think if you look at a lot of these influencers and all that, you have so many people that are able to make such good money not going to college. I think certain colleges you can go to and succeed more. If you want to be a doctor or whatever, you have to do all that stuff. But if you want to be an entrepreneur, you can't go to any kind of school. I think you have to go to a school that has the resources around you, and you have to be committed to that. Because if you could be committed through those resources, you could branch out. You have to be a people person to be any kind of entrepreneur, I think. I think if someone's maybe a little doesn't like to talk to people, but has a great idea, they're not really an entrepreneur. They're more of an inventor. And I can see it all the time. Inventors can be entrepreneurs, but they could also just be an inventor, and you have the right team around it could blow it up. I think for me, I was kind of blessed, to be in the right place, right time, also go to the right school, be from New York and be out there already. I was maybe a little too comfortable in my first 2 years, but going into my junior year, I made sure to kind of, broaden my horizon a little bit. I wanted to talk to different people and get to know ideas and all that. And also I met great people that I still talk to every single day that helped me, push my mind and think about my mind in different ways.
Well, guys, I hope you heard that. I mean, I don't care how old you are. That is brilliant advice. Louis, how can they connect with you, man? Whether it's to talk about direct kicks, pokey steals, just entrepreneur in general. Where can they find you, brother?
So for Direct Kicks, our main website's www.directkicks.com. Our Instagram is just simply Direct Kicks on Instagram. And then for Pokey Steals, it's the Pokey Steals on Instagram, and then pokesteals.com. And then my personal Instagram is just DKLou with 2 U's. And then youtube.com/PokeySteals if you want to watch me open packs and do live streams and whatnot.
I know there's a bunch of kids. My son would love to do it. Again, I don't necessarily understand it, but
sorry, we'll get you. I should have brought some packs. We could open them,
I wouldn't have understood any of it. But, man, I appreciate what you're doing, man.
Thank you for having me. Listen, it's always nice to talk to someone who kind of doesn't know as much sneakers, but hopefully more, but also knows the business enough where it gets me thinking. And I'm excited to kind of see, I was listening to some of the things that you put out in the past one now. So it's always nice to move my mind in different ways that I don't know stuff, because it helps me grow. And hopefully, we do this again, maybe in another year, and see where we are.
Yeah, man, you'll probably have another business we can talk about.
Maybe I'm retired or next door neighbors or something. That'd be best case scenario.
That works with me. I mean, look, I appreciate it, man.
No problem.
You bring some amazing stuff. You guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I mean, again, I didn't know anything about what he does, and I learned a lot, and it helps me relate with my kids, plus just the entrepreneurial mind, kind of hearing what he did in order to succeed. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Until next time, continue to transcend in life. We'll talk to you then. Thank you so much for listening. If this content is delivering value to you, please make sure to subscribe, rate, and review us. That helps us build this community, and that is what we are all about. Building this community as big as we can, helping as many people as we can, and deliver as much value as possible. Be sure to head over to letsgowinpodcast.com for information on my coaching courses, and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Let's Go Win 365. Let's go win and transcend in life.
This is the Let's Go Win podcast with your host, J.M. Ryerson.